Dover in August can mean only one thing. A media crew reporting on swarms of immigrants flooding Great Britannia. But, despite what the right and their outriders want you to think, that's not actually the biggest story in town.
Brexit.
Lorry drivers.
Drivers.
Gaps on shelves.
Immigrants.
It's the same shit.
Helicopters.
COVID.
But now the Brexit and it's fucked up.
It is a myth that a few thousand people fleeing war and famine are our nation's biggest problem. They aren't even Dovers. It's actually truckers, specifically a lack of them. Last year, small boats arriving into the UK across the Channel accounted for about 0.59% of total migration. The number of people claiming asylum in this country has actually gone down, from 32,733 in 2015 to 29,456 last year. And for all the government talk of France needing to do more, they received 3 times as many asylum claims as us. France has a similar population and economy to the UK. In fact, across the EU in 2019, the rate of asylum applications averaged 14 per 10,000 residents. In the UK, it was 5 per 10,000. If you've been to a supermarket recently, you've likely seen this. A serendipitous storm of Brexit, depriving European drivers of freedom of movement into the UK, and the pandemic means there's now a shortfall of 100,000 HGV drivers, hampering the supply chain. The Army's been put on standby to maintain the food supply. The Army has 2,000 HGV drivers. And if one thing's more numerous in Dover than its chalk, it's trucks.
My name's Dominic Graham. I'm the Quality and Insurances Manager for Alkaline UK. Alkaline UK are an international haulage company. We had a fleet of over 100 vehicles. 20% of those vehicles are currently off the road.
Could you try and put some context on it for someone who might not be familiar with the industry, what the last 18 months have been like?
Okay. Hell on earth? No.
Oh my gosh.
No. It hasn't been easy. I mean, Brexit has caused its own problems, as we know, and you're right, that has caused massive delays at entry points into the UK. And we are now having to do a lot more red tape paperwork than we had to before. As Brexit approached, we had a lot of staff drivers. We used to employ a lot of non-UK drivers who were worried about Brexit. Some of them returned to their countries to consider what they were going to do next. And then obviously COVID came along, and that had a massive impact as well. Everyone wanted to go back to where they came from, be it Warsaw in Poland or Romania or whatever, and a lot of them never returned. So we were then very short of drivers, and there isn't a massive driver base in the UK due to COVID and the lack of HGV testing that was going on, and historically not a huge amount of UK-based drivers. There's a shortage. The RHA puts the shortage at 9 on 100,000. We'd say that's probably about right. I don't think the government sees that shortage as being that high. And although they've tried to put solutions in place, they are nowhere near good enough. The haulage industry is the lifeblood of the UK. We deliver your food, we deliver your white goods, your luxuries, and you need drivers to be able to do that. I expect 20% of the fleet will affect our turnover by somewhere between 7 and 10 million this year.
There's innumerable companies like Alkaline scattered along the coast between the Eurotunnel at Folkestone and the Port of Dover, struggling to deal with the same problems. But what about the general public? Surely they're pissed off about the small boats cluttering up the seafront. What are kind of the issues that local residents care about?
I I'd say the town's a bit run down.
Lorry drivers, I mean, I couldn't believe it when the press was going on about and you are starting to notice gaps on shelves.
Yeah.
And if you walk through the town, there's loads of places that are saying, we want drivers, we need drivers to keep us going.
A lot of charity shops, but a lot of high streets like that, aren't there? And then that's about it really. The seafront, they've recently done, like I said, the harbour and bit, which is, I think, bringing lots of people down this way, which is nice.
So they need to carry on upgrading things because, as you see when you walk through the town, there's so many shops that are closed. Some of them due to COVID, so you can't do anything about it.
You've always got the coast. I love the coast, and you've got lovely walks up just at the top of the cliffs there. You've got the, I think it's National Trust land. It's nice to take a beer up there or a picnic. Same as the end of the pier as well. And they've just opened the newest bit of the pier. Went down there the other day, which is nice. Go head down there for a little walk. The town's just as all right, but seafront's better.
So it needs a lot of money going into it and improvement, and whether we can get it, because we're so far away from, London, it's a problem. And I think the biggest problem is the through traffic don't put any money into the local community, which I think is totally wrong.
Although migrant crossings are a concern for some. So what are the big issues in your eyes?
Immigrants and traffic.
Okay. And by do you mean people trafficking, or do you mean the actual traffic in the town?
No, traffic in the town.
Okay.
So it's a one-way system. So as soon as France decides they're closing the port because they're having a strop, you can't move anywhere.
And I'm assuming the HGVs, the big lorries, etc. They probably the big queues, etc.
Yeah.
That sort of thing.
Yeah. So the whole lot backs up.
Who do you hold responsible for that? The council, the government?
The French.
Specifically the French.
Yes.
Historically, we would run auto parts for the motor industry in the UK. We would collect stuff from Italy, bring it back to the UK on a just-in-time basis. But obviously we've had to diversify since Brexit because of various hold-ups due to just hold-ups at the border with customs checks, etc. So now we have diversified, and we do a lot more general goods and foods. We've invested in some refrigerated units, which we didn't have before. We've even invested in some helicopters. The urgent products, depending on what they are, it may be a box of windscreen wipers or a box of cigarette lighters, not so much cigarette lighters anymore. But some vital small parts that are needed for the production line. And if a production line goes down, it costs hundreds of thousands a minute. So the cost of them hiring a helicopter to bring those parts easily covers those potential costs, or losses rather.
Just to be clear, this is in response to sort of potential slow-ups after Brexit?
Yeah,
and the response for your company was helicopters?
Absolutely, yeah. We looked at lots of different options, and we thought, well, we know what the delays are like at the tunnel. Our drivers have sat in them 4 days. And there have been times where, I think in the past we've used different methods to try and get product here quicker. Taking it off the lorry in France and putting it on a smaller truck. But at the end of the day, the helicopter was the best way forward. And 2 is better than 1.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, why have 1 helicopter when you can have 2? There's quite a few trucks in the yard at the moment. Is it usually this busy? You don't want it to be this busy?
Don't want it to be this full in the yard. It's full because a lot of these trucks, we don't have drivers for them.
We, like the haulage industry, needed to track down some of this rare breed and get the driver's perspective. Obviously, there weren't any in Alkaline's yard, so Dominic drove us round the corner to where we might have better luck, the local CAF.
My name is Ernestus, I'm truck driver.
And what are you driving today? What's in your truck?
Some kind of hazards, chemicals, some kind of food stuff.
Since Brexit, obviously, the UK, there's been a slowing down of customs.
In the beginning it was like really bad.
Yeah.
It was like 4 or 5 hours, but now it's okay.
Now it's much better.
Yeah, it's like 30 minutes, that's it.
UK, there's a driver shortage.
Yeah,
They're
I know.
saying, about maybe 100,000 drivers, that we need. How have you found the job in recent months? Is the pay increasing? Can you get better loads, better jobs?
Nope, it's the same shit.
It's the same for you?
Yeah, it's the same like always.
Yeah, no problem for
Yeah,
you.
yeah, it's the same also in Lithuania. There's shortage of truck drivers, but they don't want to pay.
Yeah.
They're not raising the salary, so it's the same problem everywhere, I think.
Oh, so do you think it's because of the salary, basically?
Yeah, because it's the salary. There's really small salary. Okay, I'm getting a little bit more, but like usually the drivers are getting like your tech in here, they're getting like 60, 65 euros a day. So they're like driving in here like 3 months, half of year, then they're going back, you know.
Do you think there's a difference between the English drivers and the European drivers?
Yeah, English drivers, they're getting more money than us.
Yeah.
Actually, a lot of.
And presumably you would think that would mean there would be more drivers in the UK and not a shortage.
If the salaries, it will be fine, yeah. I also was thinking to come to the England with my wife's kid, but now the Brexit and it's fucked up. The documents, they're so hard to get them.
Difficult for you to move here now.
For me, it's okay, but for my family, they're difficult.
We would normally look outside the UK to fulfil these particular vacancies, because obviously there aren't enough drivers in the UK. But unfortunately, the non-UK, the European drivers, unless they've previously worked in the UK, up until I think 31st December, are no longer allowed to work here. We can probably live with the trucks being off the road for a short period of time, no more than really a couple of months. We have other options that we can rely on rather than the government sorting it out. We can move all these trucks to the EU and flag them in a different country. And then we'll have no problems getting drivers, because we'll employ those drivers in Holland or in Italy, and they'll still be allowed into the UK to deliver. So, yeah.
It's okay. Well, let's talk about the politics of this then. It sounds like chronic mismanagement, to be honest with you. It sounds...
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think the government, in a lot of areas, but obviously haulage is one of them, I don't think they've looked at the long-term effects of Brexit, and couple that with COVID as well, as to what effect it would have on the haulage industry. It's just a shame that a driver who is considered a professional when he's dealing with the police in the UK, or the DVSA, or a judge or a magistrate, if they're up in front of any of those for a legal reason, they're considered professionals. However, the government doesn't consider them professionals. They're not skilled enough to warrant being on the visa scheme. It's just a real shame. What we'd like to see is the government look at drivers similarly as they do to seasonal farm workers, and to maybe come up with a similar seasonal visa, or even if it's just for the next 2 or 3 years, whilst their other solutions bear fruition.
From what you're saying, it sounds like this is equally as much of a sort of Home Office issue as it is a Department of Transport issue.
Absolutely, yeah. No, I mean, it's both departments. Maybe they're not talking to each other, but they need to cooperate to sort out this mess.
Because we often see Priti Patel in Dover. Admittedly, often that's to do with migrant crossings, the crossings of the Channel, and she's not down in Dover talking about the lack of visas for the drivers that the haulage companies need.
She's down here sort of sorting out the issues with the migrants crossing in their small boats, and completely ignoring the fact that there's a shortage of not just drivers. I'm sure there are other industries that are being affected.
So the next time someone tells you that we're facing a deluge of migrants on our shores, ask yourself why? And why aren't they talking about this?